AVID investors here and on Zoom, thank you so much for attending Tony Drost from Swope Investment Properties and the Boise Investment Properties team presentation on tax-free options and strategies and things that we can do in real estate. When is it time to think about your next step in real estate? Well, once your asset is fully depreciated, that could be a trigger. If you're sick of problems, that's another option. Or if your heirs don't really care about real estate and you don't want to give them the problems, or this is a time you might want to look at what are the other options? What's the next level for you? And we talked about 4, and each of them has some pros and has some cons. So number 1,
Now you're acting more like me.
you could sell and pay the taxes. But then your heirs don't get that step up in basis. But fine. Also, number 2, you could consolidate multiple properties into one bigger property and consolidate your problems, which is kind of the feedback I saw the group give you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Number 3, you could consider a Delaware statutory trust. And that would be a way to keep your powers of 1031 exchanging, but to do it in a manner that becomes a lot more passive, like the stock market, instead of semi-passive, which is how we describe real estate. But we all know what that means is it's passive until it's not, and then it's a pain in the butt again. Or number 4, a personal use conversion. And this year in Tony's presentation, it seems like that's the direction of leaning. And that's where you would take the rental or the office building that you have here now and buy the nice cabin in McCall. And then after 2 years of renting it out, you can go ahead and move into it. And while you lose the income, you enjoy the fruits of your labor. And you don't have to deal with the property management and any of the headaches. And what are we all doing this for, if not to enjoy the fruits of our labor? We often get in the thing, we're doing the thing that we do, but we were doing this for a reason. And at some point, it's time to enjoy it.
Good summary.